deep in the heart of the capital city, live from the Broadcast House studios at 44th and O. We switch on the blinding neon glow that bears their name. Jack Mitchell.
None of it is true. Get out of here. Quit trying to make movies, you idiot.
And Dave Miller.
This will be a movie, and I can't wait to not see it. This is so dumb.
It's KLIN's Jack and Dave in the morning.
All right, welcome back, Jack and Dave, 1400 AM, 94.5 FM, KLIN. Glad to have you back with us, 79 degrees at 8:41. All right, normally, once a month, sometime during this time slot, we bring on what I believe has become the biggest cult hero guest of this show.
Is that what you believe?
I believe it to be just gathering response from the listeners. And we're probably due to do that again in the next 7 to 10 days, I think.
Okay.
And that person is Dr. Ken Dewey. We call him our weather and climate guru.
Right.
So I talk to him quite a bit about, weather, climate, those sorts of things. And he said, hey, sometime you got to talk to my daughter. I was like, really?
Why? What does she do?
She's an author, writes contemporary fiction, romance. She's got a cool story. And she'll have her on sometime. And I said, you know what? We'll do that for you, Ken. And
well, we should do that then.
Well, okay. How about we do it right now?
Let's get her on the phone.
I hope she happens to be on the line right now. Just push the button. We'll see. And it looks like she is. Genevieve Dewey joining us right now on the Liberty First Credit Union hotline. Good morning, Genevieve. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Good.
We're good.
Do you feel comfortable with your dad being kind of a cult radio hero in Lincoln?
I'm pretty used to it. Everybody's like, oh, you're Dr. Dewey's daughter. I see.
Like, he's sort of a celebrity around. He's got a lot of cachet here in Lincoln,
Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit about growing up, where you did that, and kind of what's led you into your career right now.
I actually grew up in Lincoln, and a little bit when I was a teenager, I went down to Tucson for high school, a college prep school called University High. And then I went off to school at Texas A&M. And then I went back to Arizona, and then I came back to Nebraska because, things should go back to where they belong. I actually have a master's degree in anthropology, so I love doing research. I love writing things up. And I moved out to Cozad with my husband to raise some kids and didn't have a lot of work or whatever, and I thought, what can I do to use my brain? And a friend of mine said, well, sit down and write. Just sit down and write. And I thought, okay. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, I'm sure it's not.
I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I just decided I'd pick the two things that I'm most passionate about, which is gangsters and the FBI, and I went with it.
As most mothers are, love the gangsters and the FBI. Well, I'm interested. I knew about your anthropology background. I'm surprised you're not writing about anthropology in some way, or do you kind of wrap those in too?
No, I haven't got around to it.
Okay.
I do have some short stories. They're ebooks. They're not paperbacks like the Downies. And in it, the main woman is a out-of-work archaeologist, which I think, so I've written about it a little bit.
So, speaking as a writer, you're what they call an independent writer, which they're becoming more and more popular these days, especially because of the internet. It's easier to do, but that's going to present some challenges as well.
Yeah. Well, you essentially have to do all of the marketing, publishing yourself. Whereas if you have a publishing company behind you, they provide you with the editing, the PR, all of that, getting your books out into the bookstores, helping you set up stuff. Whereas when you're an independent or an indie, as people call them, it's all a la carte. So you have to get your editing here, you have to get your PR here, and a lot of people do it all themselves. So it's kind of piecemeal what you can do, afford, have talent for, that sort of thing. Although I do recommend you don't do everything yourself. You have to have people help you.
Talking to Genevieve Dewey, she's an author, also happens to be the daughter of Dr. Ken Dewey, one of our favorite guests on the show. Okay, so I'm on your website and reading on your blog here. Is one of these stories is it a mobster story that takes place at least partially in Omaha, Nebraska? Is this right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, all of my books have some sort of Omaha or Lincoln tie-in. So the Downey trilogy starts out with an Omaha detective, and he takes this opportunity to work on a task force which will actually be in Chicago, and that's where his supposedly retired gangster father is now living. So it starts. So it kind of ends in Omaha, even though the majority of that first book is in Chicago. And then the second book is all over the place, but there's a lot more Omaha stuff. In fact, I give kind of shout outs to a couple places: Valentino's, Hannah Dorley, that sort of stuff. And then the short little stories that I mentioned earlier, they are set completely in the Lincoln, Omaha area.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, that's kind of a cool little local tie-in there. But what kind of TV and movies were you watching to get so interested in mobsters?
I don't know. I love them. I love them. I could probably quote The Godfather for you. and you know what I really love? I love any kind of show or book that has two people in the same family on opposite sides. I love that. So that's why I went that whole, here's an Omaha detective who has this, estranged gangster for a father. I love that. Just love when two people butt heads, but at the same time there's kind of a tie of love and loyalty. So I like that.
Mom is a jewel thief and Dad's the chief of police, and
right.
Yeah, gotcha. How long does it take you to write a book, and how do you go about your process? You just sit down with a laptop and bang it out? How do you do it?
Well, the first one did not take me too terribly long to write, but that's because I didn't, tell anybody I was writing it. I just concentrated on writing it. I wasn't out there marketing or trying, any of that other stuff that takes my time away other than my children and my family. And it took about 4 months for the writing, and then a whole another 4 months with the editing and proofreading and, getting it to pre-readers. They call them beta readers, and they kind of go, well, this went by too fast. This one, I would love to learn more about this, And it's kind of like you sit down, you start telling the story, and at periodic moments you go back and you review what you've written, flesh it out a little bit more, and you go forward. So it's this kind of ebb and flow process the entire time. And sometimes I don't even write in sequence. I, write a scene that's going to be towards the end, write a scene in the beginning, kind of jump all over the place in terms of what I'm feeling in that moment.
Now, you do romance novels, too. Are we talking 50 Shades of Grey territory or a little bit more tame than that?
No. They're fairly mild. Fairly mild. I'm fairly proud of my adult romantic scenes in there, but they're not anything out of mainstream, I don't think.
So I got this great idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you could turn this into a book. So
Dave's just pitching ideas here.
Well, that's what I do. I'm a creative guy. So let's say a professor works at Morrill Hall. And his wife steals a bone of an Allosaurus and sells it to the mob, but she's having an illicit affair with one of the sergeant in this guy's mob. There you go. See? I just wrote another book for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
It'll be done this afternoon. Hey, if people are interested in the books and the short stories, where would you direct them, Genevieve?
I would love for them to go to my website. They can get links to all where the books are available, and they can get supplemental little flash fictions, little missing scenes at www.genevievedewey.com.
Very cool. Mobster stories involving Lincoln and Omaha. Very cool. Romance, whatever might be your cup
Genevieve,
of tea.
what's the weather going to be for the next 3 days?
I forgot to ask my dad.
Oh, sorry.
All right, we'll have him on in a week or so. That's all right. We appreciate your time. Cool stuff, and best luck on continuing this career.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, there you go. Author Genevieve Dewey. Very proud of my adult romance.
Well, I would be too. If you know what I'm saying. Yes.
I want to know where the mobsters go in Lincoln, though. I mean, I want to.
Where they hang out?
I like that. I like the idea of a. Since it's obviously not really happening, and I'm glad about that. But if it did, Valentino's. She said she gave.
I don't know,
the
man.
buffet shot up or something? I don't know.
guess.
Wow. All right. I appreciate Genevieve joining us today. 8:50. It's Jack and Dave in the morning, 1400 AM, 94.5 FM, KLI.